The T8 is Eversolo's first streaming transport, their first box without a DAC, in other words. And before you dismiss it as spending more money on half the product, consider that in high-end audio, separation often beats integration. It's the same reason recording studios run separate clocks, preamps, and converters, rather than just all-in-one boxes. When you cram a DAC into a streamer, you're often asking one power supply to handle both the digital processing and the sensitive analog conversion, one chassis to isolate both the noisy processors and the delicate conversion stages. So the T8 just kind of takes a different path on those lines. It obsesses over the digital domain exclusively. We have high-end clocking, isolated outputs, a linear power supply with an extremely low noise floor. All of that engineering, or I should say more of that engineering, went into making sure the bits arrive at your DAC perfectly timed and electrically clean. I really don't feel like this is Eversolo playing it safe either. It feels more like this is the next step in their product lineup. They've built a reputation on excellent streamer DAC preamps like the A6, the A8, the A10. The T8 is them saying if you already own a DAC that you love, maybe a Chord, a Denafrips, an R2R design, why compromise with another converter? Feed it the cleanest signal possible instead. This is kind of like the difference between a Swiss Army knife and a chef's knife. Versatility versus precision. Onto the build quality. The CNC machined aluminum chassis follows the modern minimalistic playbook. It's not far off of other Eversolo designs. Most of them seem to follow the same similar design language. At 14.3 pounds, it's substantial but not heavy. It's sort of a mid-size case. That 6-inch touchscreen really takes over the front panel, and it should also be noted that it's physically isolated from the audio circuitry because electromagnetic interference just doesn't respect boundaries, just like that close talker that everyone has to deal with at some point in their life. The display pulls from the smartphone world, responsive capacitive touch, crisp resolution, customizable views. You can run view meters, spectrum analyzers, or full screen album art. It's all the same great theme options as the other designs. Eversolo just seems to do this the best. Others offer simple views and album art, but I've yet to run into another brand that offers so many different themes and layouts for the screen. The included remote deserves mention. Included the key part there. When I first got the A6 in, that one didn't come with a remote and I had to buy it separately. I'm really glad to see it here. And this one's actually a high quality metal construction with a backplate that feels sort of premium, not like the typical plastic afterthought we see on so many designs. It has dual mode Bluetooth IR, which means it works reliably whether you have line of sight or not. It's a small detail, but including a proper remote at this price point shows Eversolo understands their audience isn't always reaching for their phone. Sometimes it's nice to have that phone set aside or not even in the room. The internal build reveals a really clean design. That custom toroidal transformer sits in its own compartment, wound with high purity copper and Teflon insulated wiring for minimal interference. The transformer quality directly impacts that exceptionally low noise floor, which in turn gives you that expansive soundstage and black background that lets music emerge from silence. The femtosecond clock gets that space it needs away from the heat sources, and every digital output board has its own isolated ground plane. It's a good mix of engineering and isolation. Engineering can get you a long ways, but more isolation never hurts. A little bit more about the clocking I just mentioned. Digital audio is ultimately about the timing. Every bit needs to arrive at exactly the right moment. And the clocking precision offered here might seem like overkill or stat padding until you understand phase noise and jitter. The T8's implementation isn't just like a headline number. It's about maintaining that precision across temperature changes, over long operating periods, even through varying loads. Think of it like high-speed photography. The difference between 1/1000th and 1/8000th of a second shutter speed might seem academic until you're trying to freeze a hummingbird's wings. Then these details really matter. In digital audio, that timing precision is what separates very good from invisible. A really well thought out design like this, the transport disappears, leaving only the music. Onto connectivity. The T8's approach to outputs reads like, well, kind of like everyone got what they wanted. We have USB audio, isolated of course. For many, it's kind of like the modern standard. It handles up to DSD 512 and 768 kHz PCM. There's a lot of DACs that optimize for USB these days. Then we also have I2S over HDMI. It's kind of like the purest choice. It shows up more often on the high-end streamers and DACs. There's some variations in the pin configurations because like many standards, well, they're not really standards and they have a number of variations. This one has 8 different pin configurations, so you should be good to go. Then we have AES EBU, that's kind of the pro standard, balanced for long runs, noise rejection, it's great for that. It's one of my personal favorites and I wish it was on more designs. Then we have the coax optical, that's gonna be limited to 192, but it's still very relevant and it has galvanic isolation. Then we have that SFP fiber network connection. That's, I don't know, what should we call it? The paranoid audiophile's dream, I guess. It's complete electrical isolation from your network. It requires a fiber-capable switch or a converter, but it does eliminate ground loops entirely. It's the kind of connection that sort of does it all. You can easily do long-distance runs. It's completely isolated. If you need it, it's there. The galvanic isolation isn't just marketing here. The I2S, AES, coax, USB outputs, they all have proper isolation to break ground loops and prevent electrical noise from traveling between your components. This level of isolation is typically found in transport costing, sometimes twice as much, but it can be the difference between theoretical specs and real-world performance in the more complex systems where you're really trying to cross your T's and dot your I's. I really didn't think this area was suffering from feature bloat. Each output serves a specific use case, you could say, and the implementation quality means you're not sacrificing performance for flexibility. Onto the storage in the network. On the bottom of this one, we have dual M.2 slots that support up to 16 terabytes of space, and that's enough for 40,000 high-res albums. Unlike mechanical drives, these are silent, fast, and reliable. Installation takes just under a minute, no drivers, no configuration. Just slide them in and let the T8 index. Network flexibility extends beyond the usual Ethernet port. We have Wi-Fi 6 built in, but it's defeatable for those concerned on its effects around the sound quality. Onto the software, and this is a really important area on a streamer, obviously, right? Streamer interfaces typically fall into two camps: engineer-designed disasters, where usability takes a major hit, or Fisher-Price simplicity, where you don't feel like you have enough control. Eversolo Control splits the difference. It mirrors the T8's interface at the screen while adding handheld phone-specific conveniences. It's not a simple software solution where it's one menu screen controlling the most obvious settings. In this case, it's actually pretty extensive, but in my opinion, it does split the difference because when you use it, it feels like it's really easy to get things up and running, but there's still flexibility and fine-tuning options through the more advanced settings and options. Just to name a few features that stand out in the software, we have global search, and it actually works really well. And that's going to search across your local storage, and then, for example, like Tidal, Qobuz, your local storage, your external storage, all simultaneously. A lot of us, we have music coming from all these different various locations, so this can make it a bit easier. Going hand in hand with the global search, the Listen at Will mode creates dynamic playlists by mixing your local library with your streaming services based on genre, era, or even your mood. It's something I always suggest people to play around with. You might find some new music outside of your normal listens. The gapless playback is properly implemented. It's pretty much expected at this point, but the question always comes up. And the parametric EQ isn't just 10 bands of adjustment. Each band can be configured as a peak, a shelf, a pass filter with variable Q, and you can save multiple profiles. It could be like late night with a bass cut, critical listening, it might be flat, and then party mode, which I don't know, whatever you want that to be, I guess. Then onto the metadata. The handling is accurate and informative, properly displaying the high-res indicators, format types, and even MQA status for those still invested in that ecosystem. It reads embedded cue sheets, pulls multiple album art sources. Basically, it interacts really well with the screen. Screencasting is another nice feature here. The T8 can mirror its display to your device, like your phone, your tablet, for full remote control. You might think, why would anyone need this when you have the remote and you also have the app? But it's particularly useful for accessing non-native apps. Specifically, one example is downloading the Android version of Apple Music so you can unlock high-res audio. It really opens you up to controlling a much larger library of apps beyond the Eversolo ecosystem. Then you have things like Wake on LAN, and that just means the T8 can sleep properly, drawing very little power, but wake instantly when you open the app. It's really great to have because you can have this in standby mode, don't worry about a boot sequence, and when you want music, you don't have to wait. Onto the room correction. The EvoTune system uses FIR filters to address room acoustics. Setup takes roughly 5 minutes with your phone's mic, or what I would personally use, a calibrated microphone. The results aren't subtle. This is an area of preference for a lot of users. Some love it, some hate it, but at the very least, it's a powerful option for taming difficult rooms with bass bloat. It won't turn a closet into a recording studio, but it can make your untreated living room significantly more listenable. For purists who pause at any DSP, it's defeatable. You obviously don't need to enable it, but for those looking to tune their sound with a bit of DSP, it can be the difference between fighting your space and working with it. The 10-band parametric EQ and FIR filter import capability means you can also use room measurements or a different professional room analysis if you want to. You can take steps beyond the auto calibration. At the very least, it's worth just learning Roo, just so you can verify what's going on in your space after the use of their integrated calibration. On to protocol support. As far as integrations go, I can't imagine many of you have something out there that isn't going to be supported here. This isn't the complete list, but just to give you an idea. As for direct integrations, we have a Tidal, and that's going to include Tidal Connect, Qobuz, including Qobuz Connect, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify Connect, Deezer, Hi-Res Audio, TuneIn Radio. Then we have streaming protocols like it's Roon Ready, AirPlay 2, DLNA, UPnP, Bluetooth. This just kind of goes on and on and on, and I'm not going to make you listen to all of that. Basically what I'm saying is this one has a load of integrations, but if you're missing anything on the list that this offers, let me know down below. I'd be curious to know what some of the other streaming services you use that isn't offered here. On to the performance. And evaluating a transport is sort of like an exercise in negatives. What doesn't it add? In my opinion, the biggest advantage of a transport like this is its pure nature. I want squeaky clean out of the transport into a DAC that I prefer. Leave that preference up to the user, who might prefer something like an ESS DAC here, the more analytical presentation, compared to something like the UDAC or the more budget-friendly FIO K13R2R, which comes through with more of an organic musicality. What I'm getting at is the DAC's character comes through without input from the streamer, and that's what I really like about the T8. Start as clean as possible with the T8 output, then build synergy through the gear that runs downstream, finally ending up at your speakers, which will, without a doubt, have the biggest say on the delivery. This is where separates shine compared to the all-in-one DMP series. No DAC section means no preamp stage, no analog circuitry fighting for power or space. The only downside to separates is the cost, but the performance gains are real if you want to search for every last bit of performance. A better transport like the T8 genuinely makes your DAC sound better. Less jitter, cleaner clocking, pure signal. The transport job is not to add or remove anything. The source should be as clean as possible, and the T8 delivers that neutrality. The soundstage really benefits from the exceptionally low noise floor here. Images lock in space with precision, depth layers become clearly delineated, and the space between instruments becomes as important as the instruments themselves. Well, maybe not that much, but you get the idea. It's not creating this soundstage, it's simply not obscuring what was already in the recording. Like I said, the T8 makes it easy with streaming audio. The low noise floor gives you that blank canvas to build off of. Silent passages stay silent, dynamic range isn't compromised, timing remains consistent. It's the audio equivalent of clean glass, the often overly used reference, but in this case it just fits. You forget the T8's there outside of, probably the giant view meters that you have playing on the screen. Looking ahead, the T8 would likely be a perfect pairing with Eversolo's upcoming Z10 DAC if you're looking to build out a new system. The T8 providing pristine digital delivery, the Z10 handling conversion with hopefully a similar obsessive attention to detail. It's a modular approach that lets you upgrade in stages rather than replacing everything all at once. Onto the market position. At $1,380, the T8 occupies an interesting space. If you shop comparables, these are kind of like my general findings on this. The T8's 6-inch touchscreen with app mirroring is unique at this price point. Most competitors have tiny displays, or some of them none at all. The ones that do offer a screen that's as big as this or bigger are generally at much higher price points, like the Hi-Fi Rose, for example. This one tends to have more connections for the price. The T8 carries one of the widest range of connections that cover nearly all scenarios at this price point, like I mentioned. As for the storage, the dual M.2 drives are kind of a rare sight. Most offer single drive storage, or realistically, most of them just have external support options. As for the power supply, it's built with a linear supply. Many competitors charge extra for the upgrade, or they just simply use switching supplies. As for the room correction, their built-in EvoTune DSP. Amazingly, really the biggest competitor in this room correction category is probably Weem. The premium brands for the most part really haven't started to offer it. The price to performance ratio at $1,380, it's not a budget buy, but if you're shopping premium transports, the T8 undercuts most of the competitors with pretty similar features while outperforming the cheaper options. The T8 just kind of hits the sweet spot where price and performance intersect, as long as you're the type of end user that can benefit from the features it offers. As for my concerns, it runs Android underneath, which in my personal experience hasn't been an issue to this point, but it does mean you're at the mercy of their operating system altogether. ultimately. And then there's the transport-only dilemma. At $1,380, you still need a DAC. You can add even a modest $1,000 DAC and you're at $2,380. While the T8 does excel over the A8 in several aspects of the design, the math works best if you already own a DAC that you don't want to part with, or you're speccing out a new separates build. This is just kind of how it goes in the world of separates, but at the very least, the T8 is a great starting point for a build. As for my verdict on all of this, the T8 succeeds because it knows exactly what it is, a digital transport. Not a computer pretending to be audio equipment, not a lifestyle product with audio capabilities, just a meticulously engineered device for moving bits from storage or streaming to your DAC. For anyone with a serious DAC investment, and that could be even like a budget DAC that you just really like the sound of, or possibly something really high-end, the T8 can make sense for a lot of different people. It preserves your DAC choice while modernizing your streaming capabilities. It future-proofs the digital front end without forcing you to abandon your analog stages that you already love. In an industry obsessed with the all-in-one solutions, the T8's singular focus provides the sophisticated choice that isn't about having everything. It's about having exactly what you need, or possibly what you want in this case, executed to a high level. I really do appreciate these no-compromise devices that Eversolo is building lately. It's really hard to find much to complain about with the T8. The sound quality, the build, the software implementation, it's really one of the best options at this price point. At $1,380, the Eversolo T8 delivers precisely the kind of uncompromised engineering that makes high-end audio worthwhile. If you found today's review interesting or at least entertaining, please consider subscribing to the channel. I have a lot of great content on the way, and I want all of you to join this community. So please share your thoughts down below. Let's chat about it. Take care. Talk soon. Later.